89, Ayin Test on the Bais. Top line. Easy place to start. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught in the Bais. So Isav Espinai, Naig B'Kilayim or B'Koi.
79, right?
You might read it as Kvi. 79b. How do you read it? A Koi or Kvi? I don't want to say it. How do they write it in the English? I don't want to say it in a way that's not. People won't understand. Isav Espinai, slaughtering the mother and the child applies to a crossbreed, and also to Kvi or Koi.
Rashi says Kvi.
How can you tell? How can you tell from Rashi?
Where are you? The very top?
Yeah.
At the very top.
But in the English, they'll say they have the
So it should be at the
vowels.
very beginning, taught in the Bais.
They say koi.
Ubekoi.
Koi. Koi. Koi like the fish.
Like the fish, like the carp.
How do you spell the fish?
I think
Also,
like that.
K-O-Y?
I think.
Okay. Okay. So we're going to see what koi is. We'll see later today. But meanwhile, we're assuming that it's some sort of crossbreed. It's not so
like slime in a way.
Yeah, it's not so simple. We'll see. So this is the first opinion that Isav Espinai, you can't kill, you can't slaughter. I have to say, you can't slaughter the mother and the child in the same day, even if the child is a crossbreed with the mother and the father, it's a different animal, and even if it's a koi, which is also a type of crossbreed. Rabbi Eliezer Reimer Kalaim Abba Menez Minarachel. If it's a crossbreed between a goat and a sheep, fine. He agrees. However, koi, it doesn't apply to a koi.
Nice.
What was the bach here? Oh, he says they add in the word instead of koi to a koi. It says min hakoi. We'll see that actually fits better with the Gemara's interpretation here. We'll see. So we have a machlekes if Isav Espinai applies to a koi. Amar Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda says is a koi. Just to clarify what's going on in the with our people here. Well, first of all, Rabbi Eliezer is, of course, Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenes. He's the student of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. He's arguing with the sages, which is common for him to argue with the sages, probably Rabbi Shua and Rabbi Gamliel and those others. And then Rav Chisda is later on. He's the father-in-law of Rava. Is here. He's in several hundred years later. Is explaining. See, Rabbi Eliezer was by the destruction of the temple. He was the one that carried Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai out. Him and Rabbi Yeshua. In the coffin, they carried him out of Jerusalem, and
his father was interesting too.
Horkenes?
Yeah, what was the story with his father?
I don't remember with his father. I just know that his father wanted to disown him.
Yeah.
At a certain point, and then because he went to study Torah, he wasn't there. His father lost his money. He didn't help out when his father lost his money. Because he left, he went to yeshiva. They didn't really know what happened. His father came to Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai to write a document to disown him. And Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai says, stand up and speak, he says to Rabbi Eliezer. So he gives a drasha, and then he tells him that if the whole world was created just for you, it would have been worth it. So then the father says, okay, I'm going to disown all my other sons. I'm going to write everything to him. So he says, no, I'll just be one of the others. I'll just be one of the... You would think he'd say, no, I don't need it. But he says, no, just treat me the same. Okay, so Rabbi Chisda explains, Ezu koi, who is the koi? Shenechliku by Rabbi Eliezer v'chachamim, that the Rabbi Eliezer is arguing with the sages about regarding if you can kill if you can slaughter the koi with its offspring. Or See, it's not exactly that, but what is the case? Zehaba min atayish min atzviya. It's coming from a tayish is a type of goat, and a tzviya is a deer, maybe a doe, right? A doe, a deer. Heichidami. What's the case? In other words, it's not clear. We have two options. Either we have a goat with it's a type of goat. I don't know. Did they say the English for what type of goat it is? Tayish. Okay. So if it's a Eily b'tayish haba ala tzviya, if we're talking about a goat that mates with a doe, v'yalda, and it has a child. So the mother here is a deer. So because shachat la ulevra, when we slaughter the deer mother, and the child. So this is going to be a machlekes. This child is we're calling it a koi. This is going to be a machlekes between the sages and Rabbi Eliezer. The sages say that there's a problem here of Eisavas Benai, and Rabbi Eliezer says there's no problem. So the problem with this interpretation of the case, we know there's a machlekes. We don't know what the machlekes is. So we've suggested that this is the scenario. So va'amar Rav Chizda hakol maidim behi tzviya u b'na tayish shapater. If we have a goat or a doe, a deer or a doe that has a child, the mother is a deer, and the child is a goat, that it's pater. It doesn't have the rules of Eisev Espenai. I should add in that the rules of Eisev Espenai only apply to a domesticated animal. It doesn't apply to a wild animal. And a deer is a wild animal. So here I have a deer as a mother.
So everybody agrees.
So everyone is going to agree. Seu b'nai amar Rachmana v'lei tzviyu b'nai. It's only a sheep and a child, and not a deer and a child. Ela tzvi b'tzvi habala tayasha v'yaldo. We have to do it differently. It's a goat. A deer
Came on top of a goat.
that mated with a goat, female goat, and it has a child. V'kashachet lo levra, and he slaughters the goat mother and to the child. And now, this is going to be a domesticated animal for the mother. The Gemara asks 1 second. Everyone agrees. If I have a goat mother, female goat, and the child, even if the child looks like a deer, but it's chayev in Oisiv Espinai. You can't slaughter the mother and child in the same day. Why? Because it says seh. It doesn't matter. Even if the child comes out looking something else, but the mother is a seh. The mother belongs to the domesticated family. Seh means a lamb or sheep, but it could also mean seizim. Okay, what's our problem now? Problem is that why does Rabbi Eliezer argue? The rules of Eisev Espenai should apply to that, because the mother is a goat. Li'olam. Really, B'taya Shabbalat Tzviya. We're talking about a goat that mated with a deer. V'yolda bas. And now there's a female offspring. Female offspring is a koi. Okay, now this koi now mates with another animal. Ubas yolda ben. And it has a son. Rashi says it doesn't need to be a male. It could be a female also, it doesn't matter. Oisiv es benai, you can't kill a mother and child. It doesn't mean specifically benai, a son. It could be even a female animal. We had a machlekes, if it's only the female parent and not the male parent. But that was a machlekes Hananya and the Rabbanon. But the child, everyone agrees, could be female.
The English just says offspring.
Offspring,
so
good.
That makes it easy.
Benai could be translated as offspring also. Okay, so here what we're dealing with is v'kashachet la ulevra. So we're not slaughtering
The deer, the doe.
The doe. We're not slaughtering the doe and the child because that's not a domesticated animal.
Is there any significance to the use of the word libra that's the Gemara switched to?
Yeah.
Discussing the offspring of half-breeds?
Well, the significance is that it changes from benai in the Hebrew to bra in the Aramaic. Because in conversation it uses Aramaic. The ka shachet la is the Aramaic of, and he's slaughtering the word ka. The kuf aleph is a present tense. It changes verbs into a present tense. So b'kashachet la, and he is slaughtering la, the offspring, which is the kai, ulevra, and to the offspring's offspring. So we're not talking about the doe and the offspring. We're talking about the offspring of the doe and the goat. And the offspring and its child. So we're on the third generation here. That's the child. So Rabbanan Savri, the Rabbanan hold Chayshin L'Zera'av, that we suspect to the fatherhood, to the paternal
lineage.
We suspect to the paternal lineage here. So B'seh, Vafilu Miksaseh. So if you look at the mother, at the daughter and the mother, the middle generation here. So the middle generation has a father that's a goat. That has an obligation of Bais It goes under that category that you can't kill a mother and child in the same day. So even though if you look at its maternal parent, it's a deer, it doesn't apply. But the rabbis say we have to suspect to the paternal lineage, and it's a goat. And we have a rule, even if it's partially, that's good enough. Okay.
I mean, in Orthodoxy, like as far as being a Jew, the Orthodox always follow maternal. They don't really care who the paternal is. I mean, Reform will follow that, but not the Orthodox. Why all of a sudden, by an animal, we're worried about the paternal? Why don't we just follow the same chachma? I'm sorry, we go paternal.
We also follow paternal. If your father's a kohen, you're
That's what I'm saying. Oh, for kahuna.
Yeah,
Outside
things,
of that, though,
things we
it's
do follow.
all as far as what you are, Jewish or not Jewish. So I'm saying, whether you look Jewish, you got a long nose or a little nose, blue eyes or brown hair. I mean, whatever. Yeah. It's maternal.
But certain things we take on from the father. So.
The kahuna. That what else?
What else?
Yeah, I don't know anything else. Kahuna, Kohen Levi.
Your name?
Why? It's cultural. Because we're named by both mother and father. Depending we're for Shlema or whatever, or in a Leah to do. I don't know. Rabbi's not answering it. Forget. I don't know.
There's the other opinion here. Look, Rabbi Eliezer Sava, Rabbi Eliezer holds Ein Chayshin L'Zarav. You don't follow the father.
Okay.
All right.
Like it.
V'sev afilu miktasel le'amrinan. And he says that we don't say that it's partially a seh. I don't know why I have to add that in. In Chayshin Zarab, there is no seh here. Rashi explains that you can't even use that claim of seva afilu miktaseh. There's no partial goat, because we only look at the mother, and all there is deer. The mother was a deer, so that means that the child is a deer, and that means that its offspring is a deer. So there's no Eisv Espanai.
This is the same place we had yesterday with Hanania.
Very good. Very good. The Gemara asks, V'liflaig b'chayshin l'zera'av b'plukta d'chananya v'rabbanan.
That's my question.
Why don't we just say that, does it apply to Eisv Espanai? Does it apply to the father? If we say chayshin l'zera'av, that we suspect to the paternal lineage, then Oisives Benai should be you can't kill the father and the son and the offspring in the same day as well. And that's what it sounds like this machlokes is, because the rabbis say that you look at you suspect to the paternal lineage, and therefore this is a goat. They would hold like Hananya that says you have to suspect to the paternal lineage, also not to kill the father in the same day. And Rabbi Eliezer that says you don't suspect to the paternal lineage, he would say that it only applies to the mother. So that's the machlokes. Why don't we just say that Rabbi Eliezer holds like the rabbis, and the rabbis hold like Hananya. They don't have to discuss anything else. Where's this 1 second? If there would only be one machlokes here, and we would just discuss, we didn't have yesterday Hananya, we don't know where that is. If we would just have that old machlokes, if the father has the same rules of Oisives Benai, you can't slaughter the father and offspring in the same day. Hava, I mean, I would have thought, it's only in that case that afilu rabbanan maidu, that even the rabbis would agree, the sev afilu mixasel layamrinan, that this idea of having partially a
mixed breed.
A mixed breed, I would have thought that they don't say that. Kamash malan that they do. Now, what we mean is like this. Over there we had a discussion regarding the word Oisai. Oisai Vespenai. Does it apply to the father or is it just the mother? So I could have thought that I have a machlokes there. Does it apply to the father? Hananya holds that it does, and the rabbis say that it doesn't. Now I come down to us, and this is the confusing part. The rabbis by us are Hananya. The rabbis by us, they say that there's two rabbanans here. There's the rabbanan that argue with Hananya, and there's the rabbanan that argue with Rabbi Eliezer. The rabbanan that argue with Rabbi Eliezer agree with Hananya, and disagree with the rabbanan. The rabbanan disagree with the rabbanan. It's because it's a different generation of rabbis that are arguing with an individual. So I could have thought that the rabbis really don't hold of sev afilu mitzaseh. In other words, in order to categorize the animal, it needs to be a full breed. And I would have said, if I only have that first machlokes, do I follow the paternal lineage? Do I suspect the paternal lineage? I would say yes. Okay, the rabbis hold that I follow paternal lineage, but it doesn't make it into a domesticated animal. I only follow paternal lineage to say that I can't kill the father, slaughter the father and child in the same day, but it doesn't change the status of the animal. The status of the animal needs to be a full breed. Who says that I say, like when the Torah says that it needs to be a domesticated animal, this is only half domesticated. Maybe half domesticated isn't enough. So that's why I have to have the machlokes here to tell me that sev afilu mitzaseh, no, the rabbis hold that I follow paternal lineage, and also that the paternal side is enough to turn it into a domesticated animal. That I didn't know from just that. Okay. V'had Tanan, this that it was taught in the Mishnah, this is really like an anthology of all of the discussions of koi, this animal that's we don't really know its status. Right now we're assuming that it's a crossbreed between a deer and a goat. We'll see soon. But what we discussed right now is does it apply if we consider it a deer, then we don't have the rules of Oisives Benai, of killing the mother and child in the same day, because it's that rule only applies to domesticated animals, and this is a deer. And that was a machlokes Rabbi Eliezer and the rabbis, where Rabbi Eliezer holds that it's it's not considered a domesticated animal. Now we go to the next case. It says, Koi ein sheichten oise b'yamtiv. There's a problem of slaughtering an animal on Yom Tov, a wild animal. Because a wild animal, you have to cover the blood. Now, so there's a discussion if you're allowed to shech the bird. It's a Mishnah and Beya. Do you have the ashes ready, or the dirt ready to cover? Because the dirt, you can't just dig up dirt. You would have to have prepared that dirt before to cover.
When we shech the chicken, we don't cover the dirt.
We do.
We do.
It's a chicken, or a bird, and wild animals.
Oh.
Doesn't apply to domesticated animals. So, a koi is a doubt. Is it a domesticated animal or a wild animal? So you really can't cover the blood on Yom Tov. You would have to cover the blood on the weekday, just in case it's a wild animal. But on Yom Tov, you have no excuse for covering the blood, because it's a domesticated animal. So it says you're not supposed to shecht it on Yom Tov. V'im shecht, but if you did shecht it, ein mechasen estam, you can't cover the blood. The Gemara says b'maya skinan. What's the case of the koi? In other words, we had different options before what the koi is. Who's the father? Who's the mother? If we say it's talking about a goat that mated with a doe, the female deer, bein l'Rabbanan, bein l'Rabbi Eliezer, whether it's according to the Rabbanan, whether it's according to Rabbi Eliezer, lishchait, you should slaughter it, v'lichsei, and you should cover it. Why? Because tzvi v'afilu miktsas tzvi. It's a wild animal. The mother is a wild animal. So what? You're going to say you mixed in a part of it is the father is a domesticated animal, but that doesn't take away from its status of a wild animal. And everyone should agree. Everyone agrees that you follow the mother, the maternal lineage. That's for sure. So for sure you should have to cover the blood. So what's the problem? Shecht it on Yom Tov and cover the blood the way whatever Bisham will tell you how to do it. Ella b'tzvi habala teyasher v'yaldu. No, we have to say it's the other way. We're talking about it's a deer that lived with a female goat, mated with a female goat, and it has a child. And now we're slaughtering the child on Yom Tov. Eily Rabbanan, if it's according to the rabbis, l'shchit v'lichsi, then you should slaughter it and cover the blood. Why? Because the rabbis assume paternal lineage. Eily Rabbi Eliezer, and it's paternal, it's a wild animal. Eily Rabbi Eliezer, l'shchit v'lichsi. So don't cover the blood. It's a regular domesticated animal. The mother is the main parent, and the mother was a goat. You don't have to cover the blood. So just slaughter it, and then either way, if you go like the rabbis, then you cover if you go like the rabbis, then you cover the blood. If you go like Rabbi Eliezer, you don't. The Gemara could have answered that this Tana doesn't know who's the correct opinion. It doesn't do that though. It could have said that this Tana doesn't know if you go like Rabbi Eliezer or like the Rabbanan. Gemara is assuming that everyone, you're either on this side or on that side, and so therefore, what's your problem? The Gemara says Le'olam, really, b'tzvi habala teyasha, that it's a deer that mates with a female goat. V'Rabbanan tzfukim esafkalu ichayshon l'zeravi and chayshushin. The Mishnah that says you're not allowed to shech on Yom Tov, and if you do, you don't cover the blood, is the opinion of the rabbis. And the mother here, the maternal lineage is a goat. So you really don't need to cover the blood. However, we said that the rabbis followed the paternal lineage. And at least for Eisv Espinoi, we said you weren't allowed to kill the mother and child in the same day when this was the story. Because if the mother was a domesticated animal, here it's the opposite. Here the mother is the wild animal. If the father is a domesticated, here the father is the wild animal. But really, the rabbis don't really know for sure. So when it came to Eisv Espinoi, they suspected the paternal lineage, and they said don't kill it on the same day because maybe we followed the paternal lineage, and this is really a domesticated animal. It's really a goat. When it comes to covering the blood on Yom Tov, which that's a problem if you're not obligated to, So they also suspect the paternal lineage, and they say maybe it's a domesticated animal and it doesn't require it. Maybe it's a wild animal and it does require it, but maybe it's not a wild animal because maybe you don't follow the paternal lineage, you only follow. So therefore, in the rabbis itself, we have a doubt. Before it didn't seem like it was a doubt; they seemed so clear. I said, yeah, that was just to be strict. To be strict, you can make an assumption, but you can't be lenient when you have a doubt and say, go ahead, slaughter it on Yom Tif, and then just cover the blood anyway, just in case. You can't do that because on Yom Tif you're not allowed to move the dirt if there's no mitzvah to. The Gemara now says, the fact that the rabbis have a doubt, if you follow paternal lineage, so it must be that Rebbe Lezer was definite that you don't follow paternal lineage. We don't want to say that both the rabbis and Rebbe Lezer both have a doubt if you follow paternal lineage. In other words, we didn't have to say this. We could have said that Rabbi Eliezer doesn't know if you follow paternal lineage. The rabbis say for sure you do. We could have done it like that. We didn't do that. We said the rabbis have a doubt if you follow paternal lineage. That means we have to take Rebbe Lezer a notch down. He says you definitely don't follow paternal lineage. Okay, now we're going to learn a new brisa. But the Tanya was taught in a brisa. Hazroya v'lachayim v'akeva noyigim b'koyu b'kalayim. These are the gifts that are given to the Kohen, and it's the arm and the jaw and the part of the stomach that from every regular animal that's slaughtered is given to the Kohen. Now, the brisa says that it applies also to a koi, and it also applies to to a crossbreed. And we're assuming that the koi is also a type of crossbreed. The only difference is that it's a crossbreed between a wild and a domesticated animal. Now, that's the first opinion. Really, it should only apply to a domesticated animal. It doesn't apply to wild animals. But to the crossbreed, the rabbis say that it applies. Rabbi Lezer says, hold on. If it's a crossbreed between two domesticated animals, so granted, whichever way you look at it, it's a domesticated animal. But minakoi, if it comes from this other type of crossbreed between a wild animal and a domesticated animal, patim mina matanis, you don't have to give these gifts to the Kohen. Okay, now we have to go through this again. B'may askinan. With what are we dealing with? The word "my" means what? It rhymes with "y," but it doesn't translate as "y." It translates as what? B'may means what? That's it. It's like b'ma, right? Yeah. With what? With what are we dealing with? Eily b'taya shabal tzviya. If we say we're talking about a goat that mates with a doe.
Excuse me, it's funny, it doesn't say hacha b'mayas kingdom because we're bringing it from somewhere else, so it's shamab, so it just says b'mayas kingdom. Because usually the expression hacha b'mayas.
The word hacha, it's interesting that you're saying that. I think hacha b'mayas kingdom would come in with the Amoraim defining what the Amoraim said. Here we're trying to determine what the Bais is. So that's
somewhere else.
Right. That's the point. So okay, so we're talking about a goat that mates with a doe, the female deer, V'yolda, and has a child. Okay, now this offspring, its mother is a wild animal and its father is a domesticated animal. So if you follow the mother only, then it's exempt. Its mother's wild. If you follow the father, then it's obligated. Bishlam el Rabbi Lezer the Pater works out well. Rabbi Lezer says that he's exempt from matanas. Kasavar seva afilu miktzasel layamrinan. He doesn't hold of partially animals are obligated. He also needs to be a full. Does this mean he doesn't accept the fatherhood? Yeah. He doesn't accept the father. There is no there is no obligation here of from the father's side, because he doesn't accept the paternal lineage. Eily Rabbanan. What did we say? According to the rabbis, we said that the rabbis suspect to paternal lineage. Now, listen to this. When it came to an obligation not to slaughter the father and the mother and the child in the same day, so we said, okay, be strict, because you have to suspect that maybe it's a domesticated animal, because the parent, the father, the paternal lineage was a goat, so you have to suspect to it. When it comes to giving a gift to the Kohen, if it's not 100% sure that it's obligated, so the owner of the animal can tell the Kohen says, look, you owe me the things. I see you just slaughtered an animal. So he says, yeah, but it was a wild animal. So the Kohen says, yeah, but the father was a domesticated animal. So the owner of the animal will respond. He'll say, look, you want your money, right? You want your things. Prove it to me that you follow the father, that you follow the. If you can prove it to me, then fine, I'll give it to you. But meanwhile, the responsibility of that is on you to prove it. Meanwhile, I'll hold the money until I'm not going to give you the money until I prove you that I don't owe it. I'm going to hold it. So, how could the rabbis? This is what the Gemara is going to ask. How could the rabbis say that, oh, you have to give these gifts to the Kohen, when we just said before that the rabbis themselves are not sure. Thank you. Are not sure that we follow paternal lineage.
Oh, let's go back to the question before then. You're giving it to the Kohen. The Kohen follows paternal lineage. No, so he shouldn't accept a gift from paternal lineage.
Right. By the way, he'll accept the gift. But you're going to say, I understand you'll accept it, but I don't have to give it. I follow the other way, or prove it to me that it's different.
Prove it. You know why we don't give things to Kohanim nowadays? Because we're not sure
that they're Kohanim. Yeah, I was always.
That has nothing to do with maternal and
paternal. The proving is also.
I'm not sure the Yisraelim are Yisraelim too.
In Choshen Mishpat, there's this thing called Kimli. Like Kimli, where the person can say, "Well, I don't hold of that opinion. I hold like the other." Okay. Right, they can say, well, oh, there's a certain, one of the Rishonim says this. He says, okay, well, you can hold like that. I don't have to hold like that. Okay. Nope. Here's the question. Eily Rabbanan, we're on the first wide line, if you're using an actual Gemara. The Rabbanan, it's 6 lines from the bottom. Nihi de kasavri seva filo mixase, even though they hold that partial.